Solar power. Dr. Livia's staring transfixed. Run! I grab his arm and pull him out of the scout car's path. It's hurtling faster as it comes, flinging off hot metal parts. Its remaining lifting fans are still spinning, sending it careening from side to side, a crooked flaming wheel. Dr. Levia stumbles, and his toolkit spills. Leave it, I shout. Well, obviously. He rises to his feet. Hold on, Frey. It's going to miss us. I turn in time to see the wreck thunder past, leaving a dark trail of burned grass behind. Dr. Levia looks ecstatic. The transcendent spectacle of objects in commodious motion, he murmurs. War is such a beautiful collision. That was pretty bubbly, I say. The scout car rolls onward until it loses momentum on the flatter ground. It spirals to a stop, like a spent coin. Levia looks up, but nothing compared to what comes next. Half a dozen hover cars are approaching us from Shrev. These aren't scouts. They're armored attack craft, heavier than anything in our fleet. I let out a whistle. A bunch of mirrors are going to take those down? We'll see, he smiles. Aim it as you would a gun. I take another look at the contraption. The laser torch has been fitted with a new lens. I recognize the double trigger mechanism from the plasma gun, from which the battery and other more mysterious parts have been borrowed. When I pull the priming trigger, a familiar whine fills the air. How many shots? Levia shrugs. 1 or 2. Or maybe 0. Just keep pulling the trigger till it breaks. I give him a tired look, aim the device at the center of the approaching squadron, and fire. The laser torch lights up in my hands, hot and buzzing. A bright spot appears on one of the distant hover cars, a ruby circle of light. My target is moving, and at first it's hard to keep the laser steady. But as I hold my aim, the car grows brighter and brighter. Thousands of tiny lights join mine, the tens of thousands more, until my target is glowing like the sun. It doesn't burst into flame. Duralloy armor doesn't burn, but its 6 engines are already spinning 1,000 times a second. It doesn't take much for one of them to overheat. A plume of smoke erupts, then a second, cooling around the hover car. It banks in the sky, spinning downward like a leaf. Wow, I breathe. This thing really works. Solar power, Dr. Levia says reverently. I shift the laser to another car in the squadron, and seconds later, its engines are smoking too. The horde of mirrors seems to take on a life of its own. As each car falls, the collective focus shifts to the next. Brightest in the sky, one by one, the squadron is turned into tumbling motes of smoke and flame. I release the trigger. Dr. Levia's contraption is hot in my hands, and a whiff of burned plastic hits my nose. The lens looks darkened in the center. Nice work, Doctor, but I think your gun is fried. We should probably get back to the ship then. We turn and run. At the top of the hill, Levia comes to a panting halt. I turn and look back at Shrev. More hovercraft have formed into attack squadrons, but they aren't hurtling toward us. They've come to a halt at the city's edge, hovering motionless. They're afraid, Levia says, breathless. Of course, they've seen the panels take down 6 of their own, and Shrev is surrounded by solar stations. The crews must think they're all infected. Until they can figure out what's going on, they're trapped inside the city limits. I look down the far side of the hill. Our hover car is still upside down, but its fans are spinning. Cole and the 2 specials are waiting a safe distance away. Zero must be at the controls, taking all the risk herself. Are her repairs really finished, or is it simply that we have no choice? The car rises slowly into the air, the engine screaming. It climbs until it's almost level with us, wobbling uncertainly. And now the trick part, Levia murmurs. In one motion, 2 of the 4 lifting fans roll over on their frames. The car flips to right side up, then back to upside down, then over again. For a moment, it looks like it's going to careen away end over end. But it steadies in the air, and all 4 fans pointing downward at last. I let out an exhausted sigh. She did it. Frey, Levia says softly, your father's house. I turn back to face the city. The squadrons that threaten to come at us have pulled back to the edge of the solar colony. Instead of retaking their stations over the city, most of the Shrev fleet is now in a tight ring around my father's tower. They're guarding him, leaving the rest of the city open to attack. Of course, I say, they think this is just a diversion. Not completely incorrect, Dr. Levius says. In the long run, we're coming for him. Now we know how he'll react. I could have told him that. No diversion is big enough for my father to leave himself vulnerable. Nothing will come easy. We should go. Levius gestures at a last scout car lingering at the city's outskirts. It's drifting slowly over the infected solar colony, testing the waters, ready to retreat if the mirrors turn on it. I raise Leviat's contraption, but when I pull the priming trigger, the gun sputters in my hand. The battery is dripping, the last of its hydrogen bound with oxygen in the air turning to water. Bring that along, Leviat says. If the enemy think it's my usual standard of work, we shall hardly strike terror in their hearts. Your secret is safe with me. We race down the hill. Zura is landing, and Cole is waving for us to hurry.